Om Jnanatimandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gulshan, would you like to read
I was
that?
born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
Okay, let's continue our reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, text number 9. Text number 9, chapter 7. So last week in text 8, we started hearing a description of different energies of Krishna that are around us, that we're experiencing every day. And by realizing these energies have an intimate relationship with God, with Krishna, that will help us to remember Krishna if we know that. So these energies, like mentioned last week, he says, I am the taste of water, I am the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, I am the sound in ether, which is space, and ability in man. So yeah, we can everyone can experience God, can see God in this way through the different energies. Like we often come across people say, well, show me God, I want to see God, then I'll believe in God. So people want to see the Supreme Person, but it's not so cheap, not so easy. We have to be qualified, we have to be purified before we can see God in his original spiritual form. But anyone and everyone can perceive him in this way, by these different energies that are around us. So this is the preliminary way to realize God, to see God.
Somebody asked the Prabhupada that, can you show me God?
Yeah.
And then Prabhupada says, can you show me intelligence? Have you got? He said, yes. He said, can you show me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. He said, well, I can't show you God.
Yeah.
You got it. It's there. Intelligence.
Yeah. So there's many things you can't see. So that's a good point.
He said, have you got buddhi? Yes, buddhi I have got. Show me. You can't show the buddhi.
And the mind also, so many things.
That's right. That's right.
Even your heart, you can't see atoms. You can't see molecules, neutrons, protons. But we believe that because we've heard about it from the scientists, that there's electrons and protons and neutrons and atoms and everything. So like there's different ways we can experience something more than just seeing. Yeah. So like last week, by tasting, we can taste God in the form of water, like that. We can hear God in the form of Om.
So
okay.
did you say you can hear God with the? Is that what it meant when it said?
Yeah, through your different senses, we can perceive God through all of our senses.
And I was
not just through seeing, but
I
through hearing.
I was just going back where it says syllable. In
the syllable Om.
Text that syllable Om.
Yeah, the syllable Om. The syllable Om.
So bear with my ignorance. So syllable, I know what Om is, but is it the sound of Om or the syllable? It's the Om. It's the sound.
Well, Om is one syllable.
Right.
It's one syllable.
Okay, I've got it.
Like for example, mantra is two syllables. Man and tra.
Yep. Through the mind.
Like your name, Bob, one syllable, Bob.
Yep.
Gulshan, two syllables.
Right.
Abhay, two syllables. So like that. So Om is just one syllable.
Yep.
Like Krishna, two syllables. Goranga, three syllables.
Goranga.
Nityananda, four syllables. So that's what it means by syllables. So they're just one particular sound. That's a syllable. If you have two sounds, two syllables, three sounds, three syllables, like that. So that's what it's meaning there. Om is God, God in sound, just like God's names also.
Yeah.
Krishna, Rama, Varaha, Nrsimha. This is God. God is fully present in his names. There's no difference between the name of God and the person God. The person God and the name of God is identical. So we're associating with God by saying his name. Anytime someone says Krishna, the God is actually present. Like Prabhupada said, Krishna is dancing on your tongue when you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Krishna becomes present in sound, in the sound of his name. So it was also, Krishna is also present in the syllable Om. Om, which is made up of three letters, A-U-M. I mean, it's often written O-M, but it also can be written as A-U-M, Om. But this is actually a spiritual vibration. Yeah. But then after saying that he is the syllable Om, then he says he is the sound and ether. So not just that God is Om and God is Hare Krishna, but all the sounds that we hear with our ears, whatever it may be, those sounds, that is the energy of God. Sound is the energy of God. Just like previously we read, isn't it, in the fourth verse of this chapter, fourth verse, he tells about 8 energies. 8 energies. He said earth is one of his energies, fire, water, fire, air. So what is in the ear? The sound is coming through the ear and through the space. So these are God's energies, air and space. So sound is traveling through the air and the space. So these are all different energies of God. And then mind and intelligence and false ego. So it's starting off from very physical gross matter, which is earth, and getting more and more subtle. Water a bit more subtle, fire a bit more subtle, air a bit more subtle than fire, space more subtle than air, mind more subtle than space, intelligence more subtle, finer than mind, and false ego most finest. And then more finer than false ego, that's mentioned in the next verse. That's the soul. That's the soul, even more finer. So it starts from very physical, gross things like earth. You can touch it and taste it and smell it and everything, see it, but then they get more and more subtle, like that. So yeah, every sound can actually remind us of Krishna. So if you're hearing a bird sing, if you hear a cuckoo, 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 you should remember that sound is also Krishna. Or the parrot chirping or whatever like that. Or the peacock, right? The peacocks at the farm, when they make their noise. Someone say, "Oh, I hate that noise," but actually, it's an energy of God. You could think like that. Oh, I hate the sound of the peacocks, annoying, but you could see it another way. That this is energy of Krishna. So that's our choice. Whether you want to connect everything with God, with Krishna, or you want to forget God like that. You just think, oh, I like that sound, I don't like that sound. See, that you could deal it like that. That's the way the mind normally works. I like this, I don't like that. I like classical music and I hate rock and roll. Or I love rock and roll, I hate classical. Or I love the sound of birds singing, or I hate the sound of birds singing. But you can look at it another way, that all these things have their origin in God, and by experiencing these different energies, we can remember God. like that. Mm. One time there was, of course, on the planes, you know, it's been going on for a long time, that they have films, movies on the planes. So we generally have an idea that most films and that are Maya, illusory. But one time there was a Charlie Chaplin movie was playing on the plane while Prabhupada was traveling. And Prabhupada was like laughing like uproariously at Charlie Chaplin's humorous
Antics.
and antics. So, and the other devotees in the plane with him, as servant and that, were like a bit shocked that Prabhupada was finding it funny. They were thinking, oh, I thought this is Maya. You know, it doesn't seem to have a relationship with Krishna. It's like Maya. So one of them asked Prabhupada later on, you know, I noticed you were laughing so much at Charlie Chaplin, but I thought that this Karmi films are like Maya. And Prabhupada said that Charlie Chaplin's humor is Krishna. Charlie Chaplin's humor is Krishna. Charlie Chaplin's very humorous, and this energy of humor, where does it come from? Prabhupada's seeing that. So if you see it in relation to the source, to Krishna, then that's not bad. It's not Maya. But if you forget that it has a relationship with Krishna, and you're just seeing it in terms of your own sense gratification, that this is just giving me sense gratification, well, that's Maya. Like that, if you're forgetting Krishna. But if it's reminding you of Krishna, that who made Charlie Chaplin such a funny guy?
Charlie Chaplin. Oh, do you mean God? Krishna?
Yeah, Krishna did. God gave, like we were reading it in last week's verse, right? He's the ability in man. So the ability that Charlie Chaplin has to be so funny, in the way he looks and the way he talks and the way he acts and everything, where does that come from? That ability, it comes from God, it comes from Krishna. So if you remember that his ability and humor, in terms of humor, comes from Krishna, then that will remind us of Krishna. And then that's not Maya. But if we forget anything's connection with Krishna, then immediately we're in Maya, we're in illusion. We're in illusion. Okay, so let's read the verse for today. Punyo gandha prativyam cha.
Punyo gandha prativyam cha.
Tejas chasmi vibhavaso.
Tejas
chasmi vibhavaso.
Jivanam sarva bhuteshu.
Jivanam sarva bhuteshu.
Tapas chasmi tapasvishu.
Tapasya tapasvishu.
Anyone else like to have a go?
Punyo gandha prativyam cha.
Punyo gandha prativyam cha.
Tejashasmi vibhavasato.
Tejas chasmi vibhavaso.
Jivana sarva bhuteshu.
Jivanam sarva bhuteshu.
Tapshasi tapsvishu.
Tapas chasmi tapasvishu. Bob, would you like to have a go?
Punyo gandha prativyamacha. Teja
Gandha prativyam cha.
Teja chami vibhavasu.
Tejas chasmi vibhavaso.
Jivanam Sarvabhutasu
Jivanam sarvabhuteshu
Tapas Chasmi Tapas Visu.
tapas chasmi tapasvisu. Hey, you guys are definitely improving. That's great. You're getting better and better. Practice makes perfect. Keep it practicing. That's the way. Fantastic. Okay, Bob, do you want to read the English translation, please?
I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics.
So some more energies here that originate from God, from Krishna. We have to always remember, whenever you talk about energy, there must be a person behind it. Don't just see anything by itself. There's always a person that controls any energy. And we've talked many times about electricity, right? You can't just see electricity by itself. It comes from the engineer, in the powerhouse. Without the powerhouse, of course, it's not going to work. And without the engineers in there, you're not going to get electricity. And sunshine, right? We've talked about that. Sunshine, again, three things. You got sunshine, the energy, which is everywhere, and which is impersonal. That doesn't have a form, right? That's impersonal. Energy is like impersonal. But then it comes from the sun planet, which has a form. And then not only that, then there's a sun god. There's a controller within the planet that controls that planet, and that's the sun god, or Vivishwan Suryadevi, has different names. So everything's like that. You have the energy, which comes from a person like that. And they have a place. A person obviously has a place where they live. Like the moon also is the place where the moon god lives. And radiating out from the moon is the moonlight, as you know, at nighttime. So we get moonlight at nighttime and sunshine in the daytime. What a beautiful arrangement from God, that he provides us a beautiful radiance during the day as sun, and at night as the moon. Like now is full moon. Just today is Purnima, is full moon, beautiful full moon. So, but it's not just the moonlight by itself. There is also the moon god and the moon planet. It's not just the sunlight, it's the sun god and the sun planet. So it's not just the electricity, it's the power station, it's the engineers. So we should always remember that. So don't just see energies by itself.
Abhay, what does it mean, penances of all ascetics?
Very good, very good. So penance is another word for that, for penance. The Sanskrit for it, which was coming from, is tapa or tapas. So another word for that, penance, is austerity. So tapasya means austerity. So what is austerity? Okay, penance means austerity. What is austerity? So austerity means, Prabhupada's translated that as voluntarily, means not by force, but we've chosen voluntarily we're accepting some difficult situation, some suffering, voluntarily accepting some suffering, some difficult situation for a higher purpose. That's what tapa or penance, austerity is. I'll give you some examples. I'll give you like a mundane kind of example. Some student is going to university, and your daughter's gone to university, hasn't she, Gulshan? She's at university now? Yeah.
Yes.
So she's doing tapa. She's doing austerity, Gulshan's daughter. Because especially you'll see that in the students before exams, that many times they'll hardly sleep. They won't sleep. They'll stay up all night long, and they'll fast. They'll not eat. They don't have time to eat or sleep. They're cramming for exams. And that's tapasya. I mean, no one's forcing them to give up sleep. No one's forcing them to fast. but they're voluntarily choosing to, with their free choice, doing that, accepting suffering. You know, to not sleep is suffering. It's difficult. To not eat is suffering. It's difficult. So why would someone choose to do that, undergo suffering? Because they want to pass their exams. Because why? What's the higher purpose for that suffering, to not eat and not sleep? They want to get that certificate. That because they want that piece of paper at the end of the 3 years or 4 or 5 years. They want that piece of paper saying BSc, MBA, PhD, or whatever. They're prepared to go through whatever it takes, whatever difficulties it takes to get that. So the same thing, like, okay, look at a devotee's life. That's looking at a student or someone working, right? They're stuck in a traffic jam. Is that enjoyable? You know, in the cities, right?
Every penance.
5 days a week or 6 days, 7 days, stuck in a traffic jam. Is that ecstasy?
No.
It's tapasya. Is someone forcing them to go into the traffic jam? No, they're choosing to go in the traffic jam. Why the hell would they do that? Because they want the money. They want the money. They think that that's going to make me happy if I get that money. If I do the work and I get that money, then I can take my girlfriend out to the pictures and go to a restaurant and drink wine or something and enjoy. You know, so they've got a goal. They think if I go through this difficulties 5 days a week, then I can enjoy on Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, Friday night, I can enjoy. You know, so they've got a goal, and to reach that goal, they have to go through some difficulties. There's a saying, right? No pain, no gain. Have you heard that one? No pain, no gain. So that means no austerity, then no enjoyment. If you don't go through some difficulty, you won't get the enjoyment. So, okay, let's look at a devotee. Then no meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. You know, 4 things, right? No meat, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. That's tapasya. That's austerity. And is someone forcing us to follow those rules? No, we choose to do it. What do you mean? You chose not to have sex. You chose not to drink. You chose, not to eat meat. People think we're crazy because they think, well, that's so hard. That must be so hard, so difficult. It's actually not so difficult because we get the, param drishta nivartate. We get a higher taste. We can give up meat because we've got better prasadam. We've got nicer food like that. So we don't need to drink and eat meat because we got nicer food. And we don't need, sex or lusty activities because we got love for Krishna, because we feel love for Krishna. So we don't need to lust after some woman or something in some temporary sex affair because we're feeling love in our heart for our spiritual master and Krishna and everything like that. So we're replacing the lower thing for the higher thing, so that then it's not too difficult. But still it is a bit difficult, especially in the beginning. If we not getting that higher taste, especially in the beginning, we might not be getting a lot of, spiritual bliss or ecstasy. So, but we're pushing through that difficulty. Have to control our mind, have to control the senses. It's hard, isn't it? To control the senses, control the mind. Some of the mind says, I want this thing, and then you have to say no. The intelligence says, no, you can't have it. It's bad for you. No, you can't, drink the tea or the coffee or whatever like that. The tongue wants it. I want to drink tea or coffee or smoke the cigarette or whatever. But your intelligence says, no, I promise not to do that. I'm not going to do that anymore because it's not good for my spiritual life. It's not good for Krishna consciousness. So you can't have it. And like getting up early in the morning, right? You got to go to Monglarity. It starts at 4:30. You got to get up by 4 o'clock at the latest, or whatever if you want to get there. And when the alarm goes off, is it easy to get out of bed at 4 in the morning? What is the first thing the mind says when the alarm goes off? Stay in bed. It's too bloody cold out there. You should stay in bed. It's nice and cozy and warm in here, and oh, I'm too tired. The mind says, I'm still tired. I need more sleep. I need my beauty sleep, like that. But what do you do if you're a sincere devotee? Then the intelligence says, no, this is good for my Krishna consciousness. If I go to Monglarity, Prabhupada said, You know, if you go to Mangalarti, this will help you go back home, back to Godhead. So, you know, you do it. You force yourself, throw yourself out of the bed, you know, and put your head on the floor and offer respect to the spiritual master, and, you know, throw water over yourself, you know, to wake yourself up and everything. And like that, have a shower or whatever like that. And sometimes even devotees never even had hot water. Can you imagine, you know? And I've experienced that myself. There's no hot water, so you just have a cold bath. Sometimes we used to travel around in vans and then a bus distributing books around New Zealand. And we'd travel sometimes obviously in the winter also. And it's freezing cold, especially if you go further south in New Zealand. And we didn't have much water storage in the vans and the buses, just a small container, which we like to save that for cooking. So what we do, we'd park up near a river or a lake, and, you know, you have to be clean, right, to do your service. So what would we do? Early in the morning, we would jump in the river, jump in the lake in the middle of winter. Only the Hare Krishnas are crazy enough to do that. No one else would do that in the middle of winter. But we were serious, you know, we had to get clean, and we didn't have any other water and no hot water. So you just jump straight into the lake and jump straight out again, because it's so cold that as soon as you touch the water, you just get straight out again. Otherwise, I remember sometimes we didn't even have the lake or the river there, and we'd have to use our own water. But I remember parked up in a van surrounded by white frost. So everywhere is white frost. The grass is covered by frost. There's ice on the ground. And I remember standing early in the morning with a bucket of water and throwing water around myself. I've just got a gumption towel, a thin towel around my waist, and completely naked except for the towel. And it's like frost everywhere, and just throwing water over myself. Now, if I look back at that, I think, well, how the hell did I do that? But we did it because we were young. And like Prabhupada said, that for you young guys, these austerities, you take it as fun. It's like fun. Like when you're a young macho man, you know, you do something really tough. I'm going to do something really hard, really tough, you know, to show how tough I am and everything. And it's like fun, you know, not when you're old, it's not fun. But when you're young, you know, you have that enthusiasm and energy and everything, and like that, and you're proud that you're very strong and everything. And we would be like laughing. You know, we'd be cracking up and laughing that, you know, we're just so freezing cold and everything like that. But it's just like fun like that. So, but we have that, why, you know, if you just did that without any purpose in mind, that's like madness. It's like crazy. Getting up so early and cold bath and not having, you know, all the enjoyable things that people like to have, you know, sex and drugs and meat and everything like that. You know, why would you do that? It's just crazy. But no, it's not crazy, because we have a higher purpose in mind too. The idea is this is helping us to realize that we're not the body, that we're a spirit soul, that we're part of Krishna, that the purpose of life is to love Krishna, not to please our senses. So that's the idea, why we do all these things, to realize that we're not the body, that our purpose is not to just please our senses, but to please Krishna's senses, and that's devotional service, Krishna consciousness. That's our purpose. So it's helping us get to that point, and it actually works, because I remember after years of doing that in my brahmachari training, you know, doing all those austerities, eventually you come to the point where you realize what? You realize you don't care about the body anymore. You're not worried anymore whether it's happy or whether the body's unhappy or it's suffering or it's enjoying. You don't care. You don't care about the body anymore. You become detached. That's the idea of doing these things, is that you come to the point where you become detached from the body. Detached from the body, and you become attached to Krishna. That's the idea. But why we're doing these things is for the pleasure of Krishna. Because some people do austerities just to try to get attention from the public. I know one Indian guy, he rolled across India from, I think, eastern coast of India to the west coast of India, That's a hell of a long way. And he rolled, like physically, he rolled the whole way. And he had crowds like cheering him on, you know, along the route and everything like that. And so during the day he would roll along, and at night he would have something to eat and then rest, and then he would start rolling the next day. And what was the purpose of that tapasya? Because that's serious tapasya, difficult suffering. What was the idea? That he would reach the city on the west coast, and his guru would be there, and he would sit in this fancy chariot pulled by horses and sit next to his guru and have all the people lining the road, you know, cheering him on. That was his goal. That was his purpose. So that's quite mundane. That's quite mundane. There's a lot of false ego there, a lot of pride and like that. And it's very, you know, material austerity, a material purpose. But ours is spiritual. What's that?
I seen that. I seen when I went there to cover the parikrama.
Yeah.
Some people, they're just doing parikrama with the dandvat.
Yes, you know, yes. 108 times or one time or 108 times.
It takes like, you know, 6-7 days.
Yes, yes.
But that's all that. But it's all done. But they do that, and then they take a little mat with them, and then take a little stone. Put the hands
what
up
Gulshan's saying, Bob, is that there's a hill, Govardhan Hill, which Krishna lifted 5,000 years ago. So it's a very sacred, holy hill. So because Krishna lifted it, so devotees walk around it, called circumambulated, or parikrama it's called, circumambulate. But some people take it a step further. They'll fully bow down. They'll lay down flat, dandavat on the ground, and they'll put a stone as far as they can reach. When they lie down, they hold a stone and they put that there. So where they've reached to with the stone, that's where they stand for the next falling down dandavat. So it's like that. So some people just do one of those at each place, and then next one. But some people take that even a step further. They'll have 108 stones. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
108 stones. So 1 stone, 2 stone, 3 stone. Then when they've done 108, then only then do they move to the next place. So they're spending like years and years, you know, if they're going to continue with that. But of course, some of them might be doing it for some mundane reasons, for recognition, and some of them might be doing it for a spiritual reason, because they're thinking, you know, that it's going to purify them and help them.
Only knows what the real reason is. No one will find out. Only Krishna knows.
Yeah, Krishna knows. Krishna knows. Yeah.
That's all.
Whether you're doing it for your own pleasure or Krishna's pleasure.
Some of the sadhus there, they do every day the Govardhan parikrama, and after the parikrama, they go to the 3 houses, 1, 2, 3, and for begging. Whatever they get in first 3 houses, that's what they're gonna eat and sleep. If they got 1 banana, that's it. If you got like a 1 roti or maybe no roti, then that's it. 3 houses they go, 1, 2, 3, whatever they can get, that's it. Drinking water and sleep. The next day, again, every day. Sometimes they do like twice a day. So the parikrama there, that's whole life is just parikrama.
And that's an austerity too, you know, going to someone's house and begging for some food. It's very humbling, isn't it?
That's
you know,
right.
Can you imagine, you know, go to some, please, have you got a little bit of something I can eat? You know, have you got a little bit? You know, that's very humbling, because no one would like to do that, to admit. What's that?
You have to put your ego on the ground.
Yeah, your ego is on the ground, you know, under your feet, you know. So that's very humbling, you know, being a beggar, you know, please can you feed me, give me something to eat. And then they might get just 1 piece of bread, you know, 1 roti like that.
Not
and
only
then
that, you will hear that remarks there. Hey man, you be wealthy enough, strong enough, why don't you work? You know, things like that.
Yeah, and then some people will criticize you and insult you
right.
as beggars, isn't it? Get insulted or abused. Sometimes beggars get people spitting on them, or throwing, you know, rotten eggs on them, or
the bad words goes to the ear like an arrow.
Yeah, so it's
not easy.
That's purifying, you know, because it's cutting down our pride, our big pride and our big false ego. and becoming humble, which is very good. You know, so there's these are austerities, and they should be done.
They don't see the difference between praise and insult. They don't see any difference.
And this custom is there even in the modern day initiation, when a disciple gets initiated by a guru. In that ceremony, after the fire sacrifice, and then you get given a name, you know, you make your vows, and you know the 4 things you promise, and then child chant 16 rounds, and then you go around. Then you go around holding your cloth out.
Yeah,
holding your cloth out, and you go begging. You know, to anyone in the room in the temple there. You know, can you please give me a donation? And then that whatever they collect, whether it's $2 or $200, they give it to the spiritual master. They've just got initiated. So that's one of the functions of the disciple, that he'll go out begging or whatever, and collecting, and then whatever he collects, he'll give that to his spiritual master. And that's, once again, it's very humble service for the disciple to beg on behalf, not for his pleasure, but for the pleasure of the spiritual master. And, you know, like Prabhupada's disciples, they would go out and with books and try to distribute books and asking for donations. And then, you know, for the pleasure of the spiritual master to distribute the philosophy, the books like that. And whatever money we collected, we handed that in to our authorities. We didn't keep any of that money for ourselves when we were brahmacharis. Nothing. I didn't. When I was a brahmachari, it's different now, unfortunately. But in most cases, but in our days, we didn't even have a bank account. We didn't have. When I was a young brahmachari, didn't even have a bank account. We had no money, nothing at all, nothing.
Oh, good time.
When I got married to Jayanti, I had nothing, nothing. Maybe a few $100s or something if I was I might have had or something. I think by that stage, I think I had a bank account. But the early days, you know, we had nothing. But that was good, because it means we fully depended on Krishna. We didn't know where we were going to sleep. We didn't know where we were going to eat. Nothing. We just fully depend on Krishna. And always we had a place to sleep, and always we had some food to eat, because Krishna provides. But we weren't, you know, thinking about ourselves, you know, just fully depending on Krishna. And it's amazing. And when you live like that, it's really purifying. So these rules are there to perform some austerities. So, and Krishna says here, he says, I am that. That austerity you're doing, you know, fasting, going without sleep, you know, no meat eating, intoxication, that energy, by which you're able to do that, to fast, to not sleep, to give up meat and drugs and so forth, that energy, that is Krishna. Krishna is that austerity, that energy of being able to go through difficulty and accept suffering voluntarily. That energy is Krishna also. That's Krishna. So if you see someone that's performing, you know, great austerities or whatever, that's Krishna's energy that's with them, that they have that energy, that's Krishna, to be able to do that. That's also Krishna. Amazing. So in this verse, he's saying, yeah, I am the original fragrance of the earth. You might think, well, I never really thought about that the fragrance from the earth, but you think, well, where do we normally think what has fragrance? What do we normally think has fragrance? Flowers, okay. But then take it a step further. Okay, where do the flowers get their fragrance from?
From Krishna.
No, you've gone back another step further.
Oh, okay.
You went 2 steps back. You went 2 steps. You got to go 1 step. You know, so where does the rose, the frangipani, the gardenia, the jasmine, all these beautiful flowers get their fragrance from? And different fragrances.
Water.
But they're getting it from the same place.
Yeah.
Earth.
From the earth. What are the flowers and plants? All those plants are sitting on the same earth. But that's amazing, isn't it? They're all planted in the same earth, but they're getting different fragrances out of the same earth. So if you put the rose bush next to a gardenia bush, next to a jasmine bush, next to whatever else, then but you're going to get different smells. But it's the same earth, but different. So that's amazing. That energy, that's Krishna. That's Krishna, that energy that's pulling that amazing smell out of the earth. And but earth itself also has a smell. I don't know if you've ever sniffed earth before, but earth itself also, if you have a handful of earth, that also has some fragrance. But of course, it's magnified a lot more through that process of the plant growing in the earth and then producing a flower, and then you smell that flower.
If the first rain come after the summer, that smells different. That's the best smell.
Or even like that's true. And even like, right, when you mow the lawn, that smell of freshly cut grass. Yeah. Freshly cut grass if you mowed a lawn. And it's so there's fragrance definitely there coming from the earth. There's so many fragrances. And so that's the policy we have here. We only plant, things that have a fragrance, fruit trees, nut trees, of course. But then if we're planting flowers, we only plant flowers that have a fragrance, or some herbs that have a fragrance like that. It's very unfortunate these days, the horticulturalists, they cultivate plants that have no fragrance, like the roses, right? Most of the modern roses, they don't have a smell. But okay, if you see the flower and it doesn't have a smell, but how are you going to remember Krishna? It's going to be more hard, right? Yeah. You get a beautiful, you buy a beautiful bunch of yellow roses from the shop, or red roses, and it has no smell. So that's going to be harder to connect that with Krishna. But if you get that one flower that has a nice smell, then that's so enjoyable, so pleasurable. And then you can that's wonderful smell. This is Krishna. This smell, this fragrance is Krishna. So
any
try.
Modification.
Huh?
Any modification is no good.
Yeah, modification is no good. So they've tampered with it. And Prabhupada said like that, even plants are in different modes. Like you got some plants are in the mode of goodness, some are in the mode of passion, some in the mode of ignorance. So Prabhupada said like that, a flower has no good smell, that's in the mode of ignorance. And it has a good smell, that's in the mode of goodness. Let's look at other things. Mango tree, which mode is that in? Goodness, yeah, it produces some very nice, tasty fruit.
I don't care whatever the world says that mango, it's a goodness.
Yeah, like banana, guava, mango, pomegranate, cherimoya, like that. Some useful fruit, or walnut, cashew nut, almond. There's the mode of goodness. Cactus, which mode?
Oh, that's
ignorance. Yeah, nothing useful, cactus or some stupid bush that doesn't have anything useful.
Still is a creation.
Yeah. It's Krishna's creation, but still in Krishna's creation, there's different modes. So the mode of ignorance is also Krishna's energy. The mode of passion is Krishna's energy, and the mode of goodness is Krishna's energy. But the mode of goodness is something we can utilize in Krishna's service. So that's mode of goodness. Something maybe not very useful, but I mean, still, I mean, it is Krishna's creation, but not very useful for the human being to utilize in the Lord's service, then it's in that lower mode like that. And that's also because of karma. Some sinful living entity, take birth in a cactus body, whereas some more pious living entity, take birth in the mango and the rose.
There was the one Krishna's devotee in America.
Yeah,
he was very much doing that Krishna service and all that, and he said that Krishna, I want to see you. And what happened? He's got a cactus tree there, the plant. He said, I want to see your energy. I want to be a one cactus plant come out without the spike. And that's what his whole desire about that. Year by year passing by, all the branches come out with the spike. After 6 years, one branch came without spike. 6 years wait, and then finally one branch came without spike. And he said, thank you. All he wants that one branch without the spike. Krishna, I want to see your energy. Please, please. I want this energy. After 6 years waiting, every day planting, every day watering, there, every day he was looking, every day looking. After 6 years, one branch came without the spike. That's the truth. Otherwise, cactus you want any without the spike.
Yeah, so he did some tapasya. He waited 6 years. That was suffering.
He was like, all I want just one branch without the spike. Please, Krishna, please, please. Yeah. Every week, every month he's seen with the spike. After 6 years, one branch came without spike.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true. It's everything possible, Bob, but it depends on our sincerity, how sincere we are. Everything possible.
Yes. Yeah.
Krishna can do any.
Very nice. Okay, so Krishna says that the fragrance of the earth, that's his energy, and also the heat and fire. So, everyone's experiencing that, right? You have a fire and you get heat from it. So that heat coming from the fire, that heat and light, this is Krishna's energy, like that. So whenever you see a fire and you feel the heat from there and you're enjoying that, you're enjoying, cold time and you're getting heat from the fire, then you should remember, thank you, Krishna. Thank you for this heat. This is Krishna's energy, this heat from the fire. And we can remember Krishna every time we experience that. So every time you smell a rose, you can remember Krishna. Every time enjoying the heat from the fire, you remember Krishna. And I am the life of all that lives. Now, this is a big one, right? This is a big one, the life of all that lives. That's Krishna. This is the energy of Krishna that allows every living thing to live. Without Krishna's energy, nothing lives. Everything would be dead. Nothing would come to life. It would just be dead matter. It would just be dead matter. It's only because Krishna's energy enters into matter that it comes to life. Krishna's energy in the form of the super soul and the form of the individual soul, because the individual soul, us, the soul, is also an energy of Krishna, and also the super soul. So when the individual soul and the super soul enters into matter, then in presto, it comes to life. And scientists say that life comes from matter. But we strongly disagree with that statement of the scientists.
Have you read the book there? Prabhupada's book, Life Comes from Life?
Life comes from life, yeah. So, and matter comes from life. So, life comes from life, from the soul, but also matter is generated from spirit. Matter is generated from spirit. It's not that the life is generated from matter or the spirit is generated from matter, but it's the other way around. So Prabhupada would challenge, you say that you can create life from matter. Okay, we'll give you all the ingredients within an egg. Within, the chicken produces the egg. We'll give you all the ingredients. We'll give you the yellow substance, right? And we'll give you the white substance. And we'll give you the hard shell, calcium carbonate or whatever. We'll give you that, 3 things. And then from those ingredients, let's say you make an egg and a chicken come out of it. And to this day, they haven't created life. To this day. Not even a chicken, what to speak of a human or a cow or whatever like that. They can't even create a mosquito or an ant. They can't even create a mosquito or an ant.
Apple without the soil, water, and the sun, they need all that. Even if they can't there's no factory can produce apple.
Well, they produce a plastic apple, but the thing is, you can't get a tree. You can't get a tree to come out of that plastic apple. But if you put the apple seed in the ground, you're going to get a tree will come out of it. But the thing is, you can't get life. You can't get life. I mean, you can make a plastic apple, but there's no life. You could make there is plastic eggs, but you can't get a chicken to come out of it. You can't get life to come out of it. But whereas, you know, that egg made of material energy, a chicken comes out. Why? Because Krishna's energy is gone in that egg. Krishna's energy has gone into that egg of the chicken, and the chicken comes out of it. But Krishna's energy is not in that plastic egg or that, you know, plastic apple, right? But Krishna's energy will be there wherever he wants it to be. You can't tell Krishna, you put your energy in my plastic egg, my plastic apple. He's going to say, F you, you know, not like that, but you know, you can't force him. You can't force him to, you know, to appear where you want him to appear. He'll appear wherever he wants. You can, I mean, you can request. It's just like we request Krishna, please enter into the deity, right? So the deity form we've made out of wood, like Jagannath, or metal, like Gauranitai, or marble, like Radha Gokulananda. We've made a material form out of matter, and we beg, you know, like once again a beggar, you know, we beg Krishna, please enter into this form. And then once Krishna actually manifests in that material form, it's not just a material idol or anything anymore. It's actually Krishna. It's actually God. God is manifested.
There is one true story about the Udupi temple there. There was a one devotee, like, you know, he was from the lower caste that doesn't allow to let him go inside the temple. And then he says, okay, and he was behind the temple and just ringing the kartal and then chanting the Krishna's name. And one day the deity turned to the backwards, and this is what happened here. And this scene that a guy was behind the wall is chanting Hare Krishna, and the deity turns there in the back way. It's like, it's true, it happened. And everybody just entered from the back now, not the front door, from the back, because the deity turned the back way
and stayed that way.
Deity, it's saying that. You heard about that?
Udupi Krishna is famous. Famous.
Udupi Krishna, that's the one.
Famous.
In Karnataka.
So there's many historic evidences and cases of the deities.
Temple.
There's so many cases of the deities moving and talking with the devotees, and when you offer them food, they've eaten it all, nothing there, nothing left, you know, like that. So there's so many.
As well, in a Nidhi one, you know, they leave that all the plate of food and then some laddu and some pan and all that. In next morning is all shattered and all. And just
So it's up to Krishna where he chooses to enter. But when Krishna enters into something, then that creates life. Then that object is like full of life, like that. So this life force, that is Krishna. So any time we experience, you know, some living creature, some living entity, we should know that that's Krishna's energy there. So, I mean, you're interacting, right, with a cat, with a dog, with the birds and fish and so many bugs and horses and what you name it. But all those living things, and also your husbands, wives, children, parents, like that, they've all got life, energy. And that energy is Krishna. That's Krishna. And in Sanskrit, we call that life force is called Chaitanya. Does that ring a bell?
Yep.
Does that ring a bell? So that's where we have this, you know, that Krishna came down 500 years ago, and he was called Lord Chaitanya. So Chaitanya means the life force. His name was Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So he is the life force. He is the source of all life force. He's the origin of we all have a life force, right? So he is the original life force from which all other life forces come from, Chaitanya. So that's the meaning of his name, Chaitanya, life force, living force. He is the living force, the life force. And that's God. And as soon as God leaves this body, what do we call the body then?
Dead body.
Dead body. No life force, right? When God leaves, and that's what death is. Death is that moment. That moment when God's energy leaves this body, that's called a dead body. That's death. That's what death is. And so, of course, the soul, the soul is leaving the body, but also the super soul, the Paramatma, is leaving the body. And that's the living force. The living force is leaving the body, and then we see what the body really is. It's just a dead body.
And the body back to the fire.
Even now, this is a dead body. It's a dead body. It's a dead body. But it seems to be alive because the living force is in it. You know, like this. Is this shirt alive? No, it's just the shirt made of cotton. But it seems like, look what the shirt's doing. You know, because there's a living thing inside the shirt. Because there's a living thing inside the shirt. But if I take the shirt off, it's just nothing's going to happen, right? It's not going to move for 100 years, 100 million years. Nothing's going to happen. It's just going to decompose. But as soon as I put the shirt on, then it seems like the shirt's alive. You know what's that?
I said it's alive.
It's alive. Look, it's alive. But it's only because there's a living, alive force within the shirt. So the same, the body is just like another garment. And the Bhagavad Gita says that in the 2nd chapter. Let's see if we can find that verse, which compares. Here it is, text 22, 2nd chapter.